Hey guys, just finished watching The Flash, Season 5, Episode 13, Goldface. What an interesting episode. This episode was kind of fun. It does feel like a little bit like a filler episode since we take a pause from the Cicada storyline. Although Cicada's still kind of in this episode, he's still kind of somewhat a part of it. He just gets put back to the kind of the background storyline, which I think could be interesting since we do deal with like the underground black market in Central City with like special laser weapons and stuff, and I think that's kind of interesting. And I hope just that this whole storyline with that if we never see this black market convention or group of people with Goldface, and if we never see them again, then it's like, okay, it was just a filler episode, what a waste of time. Why did they waste our time with that? They didn't even get on the item. You don't even need to watch this episode to know too much. There's a little bit with Iris and Cicada that you might need a little bit, but that's about it. The whole Barry and Ralph and the black market storyline, black market convention storyline thing is not really important at all, so it's a waste of time. But if they do bring these characters back, they bring this whole black market thing and these kind of cop killing weapons and things that can just blast through body armor, would be something really interesting. So I think that could be something cool to bring back. Now the problem I have with this is I really need to see them. Why do all these cops still have regular guns, and yet in the underground market they have all these super powered high powered guns, as if they're super cheap to buy and you can buy them for like under $100. If they're having so many of them, it would have been interesting to see how much they actually cost. Those guns, that gun that Barry used on the mannequin and stuff, it would have been an interesting idea to get an idea of how much those weapons cost, and why don't police have any of those things like that? If they're so cheap, if they're so mass produced, why aren't the police issued some, or at least have some for emergency cases? It just makes no sense. Or even the little handguns, some sort of laser gun that never runs out of ammo, instead of the regular guns that run out of ammo, jam, all kinds of stuff like that. So I think it's just kind of weird as to where things go with that, and that would be something to kind of explain as to why all villains always have that. Now, if the villains had like one per like big gang of people and they cost like $1 million, like literally cost $1 million for them to buy them, yeah, that would make sense. Okay, the local police officers are not going to have $1 million guns carrying around them. They wouldn't be able to supply the force with that, right? It's just too expensive. But if they were, or even if they were, maybe not $1 million, maybe it's a bit much, but like $100,000 or really expensive guns where criminals would be like willing to pay and have a bunch of them, but yet they'd be too expensive for the cops to have any. Or even the little handguns, if you don't know how much they cost, so it's just kind of weird as such all these kind of meta guns out there, these kind of like sci-fi style guns and laser guns, and it's like they didn't build those up enough as to where they came from. So I think that would have been cool to get an idea as to kind of a little bit more as to where they came from. The first meta guns we saw were the Captain Cold and Heatwave gun that Star Labs built. So who built these special guns, and where did they all come from? I think that would be something interesting to see. So we start off this episode with Sherlock, and we see he's still trying to read Nora's book and stuff, and we see Nora and Thawne in the future kind of talking about how to distract him, get him off their trail, and he's like, you need to distract him with love type thing. So she ends up trying to distract him with love throughout the episode, and that was an interesting idea. I like how the end of it turns out that he's obviously dating all of his, like the same person on the different Earths, right? Obviously they're doing that storyline because it's easier to get one actress than 5 different actresses, right? Finding out that the one on Earth is a meta, I think that was unclear. Is it because the doors open without her touching it? I guess the doors are not automatic doors there at Jitters, and that was kind of weird. So it'd be cool to see as to what her powers are and how she comes how it connects to the stories. Hopefully, maybe with her, it looks like he's going to obviously want to protect her from Cicada. So I think that'll be kind of interesting to see as to where things go with that and how she comes part of the main storyline rather than having her just kind of like all the storylines always end up connecting, and you have them to connect. If they just go out of nowhere, and then it's just a waste of time, right? So I think that was really interesting. We see Barry and Ralph have to kind of. They end up finding the black market show, and then they end up having to go and help Goldface steal a 3D printer that 3D prints organs. I think that's an interesting story, so I think that is pretty cool. I think that was an okay story. It was a fun story. It was cool seeing them, fighting everyone, and they had to put their guns to stun, which is kind of weird. Like, why do these why do these criminals have stun guns? Like, why would they ever use, if they have their guns that can turn to stun, why would they ever use that? And, you know, wouldn't they always, like, most of them automatically put it to kill if the gun had the option, or didn't they just turn off the stun option? Because, you know, they're all criminals. Why would they want to leave anyone alive by witness or anything like that if they're going to use a gun on someone at all? So I think that's just kind of weird as to why they had that. Now I think it would have made sense as if, you know, they showed them a little bit of cartridges or something like that they had, which, you know, it's interesting that they give them cartridges to say that it's not unlimited ammo, but you never see them reload. So it's just like, what's the point of actually showing us that there are cartridges to these guns? You know, to say that maybe it's just a battery pack or something, but, like, you know, it would be cool to get an idea as to how many rounds they can actually hold, because otherwise just don't say it, just say it has unlimited. You know, there's no really point if you're not going to have a part where it jams or run out of battery or whatever. And why would the battery be, I mean, like, inside already, you know? And I mean, I guess removable, you could add different batteries, but just kind of weird with that. So I think it could be cool as long as all this stuff comes back in the future. If it doesn't, then I think it's just a waste of time here. We see Iris is finding Cicada's house, so we get a few scenes with her kind of in the house, and then Cicada shows up trying to find a way out and stuff. And you know, I kept wondering why. I mean, Barry is kind of busy, but it would have been interesting to see her as to where things were kind of going with that. Like maybe her try to call Barry, or even just, I don't know why when she left her purse. You know, she had the interview, she pretended to do an interview with him, then she left out, and then she got caught by picking up her purse. Just leave your purse there, and then walk out the door, leave it, and then later on get Barry to just go over. He zips over there, even if he's still, I guess if Cicada's there, he might sense him via his powers or something, but even then, you just wait for him not to be there and just kind of zip in. Barry can zip in, zip out before Cicada even notices, or even just go while Cicada's sleeping, you know, and pick up the purse, right? So I don't know why she had to go for the purse. It was just kind of a dumb move on her part when she could have easily had anyone do that. So I think that was kind of silly as to why she did that. It was kind of silly there. So I think it's all in all, it was an interesting episode, but it was going to be interesting to see as to where things go with this. Does Goldface come back? I think the idea of Goldface is an interesting idea. It's just kind of, although every time he was using his gold lasso or his gold fist and stuff, I kept thinking, gold is not a strong metal. You can break, gold is not a strong metal. It's not like steel or anything like that. So it's kind of weird to see why it's so strong, like steel and stuff in this episode. But then again, you know, it's also been affected by dark matter and stuff. So I guess it could be a little bit stronger than it really is. But the trailer for the next episode looks very interesting, dealing with Nora and time travel. And it looks like something happens, maybe Iris dies, and then Nora keeps going back in time. And I think that was a really interesting idea, and I like the way they did that for the trailer. Just kind of, the trailer repeats itself and never really finishes its sentence, and the voiceover that we usually get in the trailers, you know, just kind of next Tuesday, and I think that was really cool. I like the way they did that, they played that, and I think that was really cool. And I definitely can't wait to see as to where things go with that in the next episode, seeing her just kind of repeat herself, and kind of trying different things and it never really working, never able to, you know, save someone or whatever. I just hope that whatever it happens, that it needs to be a big event, a big moment, because what's the point of her, if she's going to go back in time and redoing time travel and redoing it, and she does it multiple times, the end of the episode has to have a big impact on the show, at least on this season, so that otherwise it's just like, well, you're not proving the point that time travel is dangerous, you know. And if she ends up doing it a few times and eventually comes out with something that's like a little bit bad but still mostly good, you know, like 80% good and 20% bad, and it's like, okay, that's not really worth it. It needs to be something more like, oh my god, like that's more like, you know, 49% bad and, you know, 51% good. So it's like just barely making it very gray, and I think that could be something interesting to play with. She really has to learn her lesson as to time travel. You can't just time travel, you know. If they're out on a mission, you know, and she misses to save someone, you can't just go back and undo and redo everything, because every time you fail and you lose someone, they could have just gone back. I mean, if we go back to last season with DeVoe, every time DeVoe took over one of the Meta's body, Barry could have just gone back in time and redo that fight every time until, you know, he saved every Meta, right? But he didn't do that because time travel is dangerous. I think that's going to be interesting to see as to how she kind of learns that learns that lesson. You know, what is going to be the big thing that comes out of it? Something big has to come out of it, and Barry needs to be like, you've already gone back like 20 times or 100 times, who knows, 1,000 times. And you can't go back anymore. I know that's what it is, but you're going to mess it up. Every time you go back, you destroy something, and it creates another time effect. And I think that's going to be interesting to see as to where things go, as to how they make it a big event without being too big of an event to cause a flashpoint. Now, yeah, they've established in this show that they have certain points in time that are set in stone, like Barry's mother's death. You destroy that, and ripple effect and everything gets changed. But hopefully, it'd be interesting to see as to what happens here and what is it, if whatever it is happens, how is it not going to create a flashpoint event? Like Barry did the first time he went back in time and changed things. But he went way back in time, whereas it looks like she's just kind of reliving a moment that just happened. So maybe it's not as, time hasn't cemented yet. So maybe it's okay, so she's, right away going back in time. She's only going back maybe a couple of hours, maybe a day, maybe a week. We don't know. But I think that would be something interesting to see as to where things kind of go with that. And do we get... or do we even get a Flashpoint style, post-Flashpoint style future? But hopefully little things more than just, John Diggle going from a daughter to a son, things like that. Hopefully a little bit more heavier things to actually happen. I don't see it happening like that, but hopefully we get a little bit more things like that. And if there is time travel being mixed up, then we need to see it. She goes back in time 100 times, 100,000 times, a million times, whatever. I'd love to see some effects of it on the Flash, and I think that could be on the Arrow and Legend of Tomorrow. I think that'd be something that they need to do. I don't see them doing that. I'd bet money that they won't even do that, which is kind of disappointing and pisses me off. But we'll have to wait and see as to where things go. So let me know what you think, guys, about this in the comments below. How would you like to see all this time travel in the next episode? How would you like to see the effects of that on Arrow? What would you like to see it happen? How would you like to see the effects of it on Legends and stuff? Although there was never any effect from Flashpoint on Legends, so probably won't get anything there. But I definitely think it could be cool to see little things change up here and there on Arrow, to see as to where things go. I think it'd be something interesting, just like, I don't know, somebody gets a brand new haircut and it's never explained, drastically, completely blonde hair, or something different. Maybe the future version of Roy Harper on Arrow could have blonde hair for some reason, and it's just never explained. It's just like, if you watch The Flash, oh, that's what it is, and it's just now he has blonde hair, or something just the kind of in your face, but never explained, just kind of from The Flash, right? I think something could be interesting like that. Somebody gets a radically different look. I think it could be interesting to see as to where little changes there, but it would be nice to see it affect Arrow too, not just affect itself. Otherwise, what's the point of having this all connected, So, yeah. Let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Where do you think things are going and stuff? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.